Today we will discuss about different properties of ionic or electrovalent compounds. We will discuss some important properties of electrovalent or ionic compounds. So start from first important property, the crystalline nature. First we will be discuss what is the meaning of crystalline. Any solid compound or any salt that is called crystalline. It means crystalline basically defined for those compounds which consist by the help of ions. For example, simply Na plus Cl negative, a crystalline compound since it's made up by the help of ions. So now today we will discuss the properties about ionic compounds and all ionic compounds made up by the help of ions. That's why crystalline nature is the important property of ionic compounds. In the ionic compounds, the component particles are ions, not molecules. These ions are arranged in a regular way, and the 3D regular way or 3D arrangement of the ions is called a crystal lattice. Here is the one important note is that in the ionic compounds, each ion is surrounded by a number of oppositely charged ions, and this number is called the coordination number. So in the crystalline nature, we will discuss the coordination number. It is the clear that coordination number is the number of ions surrounded by the number of oppositely charged ions. For example, in the crystal of NaCl, each Na plus is surrounded by 6 Cl negative ion, and similarly each Cl negative ion surrounded by 6 Na plus ion. So its coordination number is 6:6 or simply 1:1. Now on the basis of crystalline nature, we will discuss about the geometry of ionic compounds. Basically, geometry of ionic compounds depend upon the radius ratio, and radius ratio means RR equals to R plus upon R minus. Here is the R plus means radius of cation and R minus is radius of anion. So by the help of radius ratio, that is RR, we can also decide the geometry of crystal. For example, on the basis of radius ratio, we can see that geometry of the NaCl structure is octahedron, and the geometry of one unit cell of NaCl is cubical. Now we will be draw the simple structure of NaCl. So for the drawing of NaCl structure, simply first draw I square. First draw simply square. After drawing first square, use the positive sign. Draw again I square and again put positive sign between the green square. Now again draw third square and draw the positive sign between the white square. Now simply join all corners, and after this drawing, put sphere. First sphere is full and second is blank. This will follow in the alternate order. This one is blank, full, blank, next full, so blank, now full, here is a blank, now full, it's the blank, now full, a blank, full. This pattern repeated. Full sphere means Na plus ion, and blank sphere means Cl negative ion. So it's a simple representation of NaCl crystal or NaCl structure. Now we will discuss about second important property of the ionic compound, that is the melting point and boiling points. Melting point and boiling point. As we all know that melting point and boiling point depends the force of attraction which are act between the ions, atoms or molecules. As you know that in the ionic compounds, the component atoms are ions. And in the ionic compounds, cations and anions are held together through a strong electrostatic attraction force. And a high amount of energy is required for the removal of this type of electrostatic attraction force. That's why ionic compounds have high melting and high boiling point. Now we will discuss about third important property, that is the hard. Most of the ionic compounds are hard since hardness again depend upon the force of attraction which are operated between the ions. Since in the ionic compound there are strong force of attraction between the ions, that's why ionic compounds are hard in nature. For example, NaCl. It's a very hard compound. Next, fourth important property is their brittle nature. As we know that metals are malleable and ductile, means metals can be converted into thin sheets or thin wires. But this types of property is absent in the ionic compound, and when we have apply the force on the ionic compounds, it will be broken into the small pieces. That will be called brittle nature of the ionic compounds. Now today we will discuss why ionic compounds have brittle nature. Basically, ionic compounds have this type of structure: positive ion, negative ion in the alternate order. So positive ion, again negative ion, positive, negative ion and positive, negative ion, positive ion and negative ion, negative, positive, negative and positive. It means in the structure of ionic compounds there should be always negatively charged ions come close together. So in the structure of ionic compounds always oppositely charged ions come close together and similar charged ions apart from each other, since there will be a repulsion force between the similar charged ions. This is the structure of ionic compound. When we are applying external force, so after this force, what is the picture? That one is plus, negative, in the alternate order. So according to this figure, applying force, similar charge come close together according to this picture. That's why when we apply force, ionic compounds are broken into small pieces. That is called the brittle nature of ionic compounds. Now next important property is fourth is their solubility. Ionic compounds are polar in nature. Since ionic compounds are made up by the help of ions, that is cations and anions. So according to solubility principle, that like dissolve like, ionic compounds are soluble in polar solvent. Polar solvent like water and insoluble in non-polar solvent. Non-polar solvent mostly of the carbon compound, for example benzene, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, carbon disulfide. These all are non-polar solvents. Most of the ionic compounds are insoluble in these all non-polar solvent. And next, fifth important property is that electrical conductivity. As you know that conductivity of the electricity is due to the presence of ions or presence of free electrons. In the metals, the conductivity is due to the presence of free electrons. But in the ionic compounds, although there will be a presence of ions. But here is the interesting note that ionic compounds are not electrically conductor in solid state. Why? Since in solid state there will be a strong electrostatic attraction force between ions. Strong force between ions. So conduction of electricity is not possible. But when ionic compound dissolve in water, they will conduct electricity since in the aqueous solution ions are separated and also compounds are conductor of electricity in the molten state or fused state. Molten or fused state means heating of the ionic compounds. When ionic compounds are heated, then force of attraction loses direct between the ions and kinetic energy of the ions are increases. That's why in the molten state or fused state, ions becomes free. So that's why they conduct electricity in the molten or fused state. For example, we take the example of NaCl. Then NaCl solid acts like an insulator. But NaCl aqueous and molten NaCl or fused NaCl both are conductor of electricity. These two are conductor of electricity due to the presence of free ions. And solid NaCl insulator of electricity is due to the absence of free ions. Absence of free ions. Now next property is isomerism. ये क्या कर रहा है सर? ये खत्म हो गया पेज, क्या होगा? Next important property is isomerism. Do you know about isomerism? Not. So we will discuss first and shortly what is the isomerism. Isomerism means compound which have same molecular formula but have different structural formula are called isomers, and this phenomenon is known as isomerism. Basically, this property is found in the covalent compound. This is completely absent in the ionic compound, since in the ionic compounds force of attraction is non-directional, and for the isomerism phenomenon it should be a compulsory that force of attraction must be directional. Force of attraction non-directional. Now next important property is ionic reactions. We all are known that reactions, any types of reactions, for example AB plus CD, it gives a product AC plus BD. In this reaction, these two are reactant and these two are product. For the conversion of reactant to product, it should be a compulsory. There is the breaking of this bond, which is operate between A and B. Similarly, between C and D. So generally, chemical reactions are slow in the covalent compound, but in case of ionic compound like NaCl react with silver nitrate, gives a product AgCl plus NaNO3. It's the ionic reaction and it is complete in the very fast. Why? Since in the ionic compound there is already a presence of ions. There is no need of the breaking of ions. So why ionic reactions are fast as compared to covalent compounds. हो गया सर, ठीक है, मेरा पूरा एक टॉपिक कंप्लीट हो गया पूरा. ज़्यादा एडिटिंग तो कुछ हो ही नहीं.